Welcome to Strip Coverlet. I'm Adrian Fort, and we are here for a haul video. This is going to be a small but relatively modern haul. Now, I say relatively because of the first book on the list, Civil War Land in Bad Decline by George Saunders. I went to the Barnes & Noble in order to buy Lincoln in the Bardo, but I can't do that. I can't do it. I've tried, and I've tried, and I've tried, and I go to the bookstore and I pick it up and I start to read it a little bit, and I just can't get into it. The format is wonky, and I'm a guy who's big on experimenting with format, right? But I just can't do it. I sit down and I'm not interested in it. For whatever reason, I'm just not interested in it. I love George Saunders a lot. I really enjoy his work, but for whatever reason, every time I go and I pick up that book, it's like I fall asleep and I'd rather read Harry Potter, for Christ's sake. So Civil War Land in Bad Decline is one of George Saunders' earlier collections, I believe. It is a collection of 7 short stories. And I've read the introduction, and here's how the introduction begins. This is an introduction to Civil War Land in Bad Decline by George Saunders. The introduction is by Joshua Ferris. George Saunders doesn't need an introduction. He's not a dead guy whose work was and remains difficult to read. He's not toiling away in obscurity or translated from the Chimicuro. He's the future of American short fiction and has been for about 15 years. He publishes in the New Yorker like Cheever and Updike used to publish in the New Yorker. He has won a MacArthur Grant and a Guggenheim Fellowship, 4 National Magazine Awards, and even something called the World Fantasy Award. I bet Cheever and Updike never won the World Fantasy Award. The man himself has appeared on The Colbert Report and The Late Show with David Letterman. He's practically a celebrity, and you don't find many of those in the literary world these days. And that last point there is one of the reasons why I think George Saunders is so incredibly important to a community like BookTube. He is a celebrity. He is very good in interviews. He was even recently on the Colbert Report, not the Colbert Report, but the Tonight Show. Is it the Tonight Show that Stephen Colbert does? I don't have any clue. I know he took over one of those late night shows. He was on that with Colbert for Lincoln in the Bardo. And all of his interviews are stunningly sentient, and you take something away from them on a writerly level, on a readerly level, and on a human level. And I have read the short story Civil War Land in Bad Decline, and it's really good, but I have not read any of the other short stories from this collection. This will probably be the next George Saunders, the next short story collection that I go through on the channel. There are reviews for most of, not all of, the short stories in 10th of December by George Saunders that we were walking through last year, short story by short story, if you would like to check out some of my work on George Saunders' work. Next, the reason I am calling this the relatively modern haul is because I am going to try to work in some of the current literary magazines onto the channel. This being ZYZZYVA. I guess that's how you say it. I don't know. I just know that this is a very prestigious journal that you can walk into Barnes & Noble and buy. It has short stories, it has poetry, and I believe it has fiction and nonfiction in this issue as well as poetry. It looks like they also include artwork and, I believe, interviews from time to time as well. If you were looking to publish, if you were looking to be a writer, if you were looking to be current in the literary scene, if you were looking to find the next George Saunders or any of these short story writers that you enjoy, this type of reading is absolutely necessary. And I am looking to start a series called Living Literature on the channel, where I sort of go through some of this type of journal and read them and break them down a little bit, point out some of the works that I thought were exemplary from the journal itself. The danger there is having to turn these videos around very quickly as the journal is published, because most of them don't stick around for more than Well, some of them are seasonal. This one looks like spring and summer, but some of them are turned around more quickly than that. So this is ZYZZYVA, published since 1985. There's a certain handsome booktuber who also has been around since that date. This current edition features fiction and nonfiction from Kristen Iskandrian, Ben Greenman, Victoria Patterson, Louis B. Jones, Christine Sneed, Sally Tisdale, and poetry from Rue Freeman, Cynthia White, Sam Sachs, Melissa Stevenson, D.A. Powell, and Paul Wilner. The only one that I've heard of from that group is Christine Sneed, but I am looking forward to getting acquainted with these other people's work. And the final piece from this haul is the Missouri Review. Now, I, if you do not know, am from Missouri. I am from Kansas City, Missouri. I went to college in St. Joseph, Missouri, and got my master's degree in St. Louis, Missouri, technically St. Charles, Missouri. So I am a Missouri boy. And the Missouri Review is a pretty prestigious journal. From what I understand, it is most noted for its nonfiction selections. But they do publish poetry, they do publish fiction. I believe they as well publish occasional interviews. Yeah, it looks like maybe here. A Conversation with Andre Dubus III by Jacqueline Kolosov. And this issue includes work from Rajiv Balasubramaniam, perhaps, Jason Brown, John J. Clayton, Edward Hamlin, Tyler Keevil, Jacqueline Kolosov, Kate McIntyre, Karen Schofield, Nancy Takex, T-A-K-C-S, Heather Tressler, Robert Wrigley, and C. Pam Jang. And these are, once again, this is a pretty prestigious journal. They are one of the ones that you want to make sure that you've done your work before you even try submitting to them. So that is all for this small and relatively modern haul. I hope you are looking forward to some more work from George Saunders appearing on the channel, as well as an occasional video on a concurrent journal, because that is the future of that is where literature is going, is from the authors in these types of journals. And I think that it is important to get acquainted with their writings at this time, so we can be there for the building of these writers' legacies. And it's also some small way which we can support the community and make sure that writers are still writing and readers still have things to read. So if you like this sort of thing, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you are not already, and if you would like to help me make more content, there is a link to my Patreon involved in this, linked in the description below, and I hope to see you back here next time.